Alright folks, brace yourselves for an algae apocalypse. This pool looks like it just survived a swamp monster invasion. But don't worry, I'm here to bring it back to life. I've seen worse, but honestly this is going to be a tough one. As you can tell, this pool is completely covered in thick algae. If you can see the texture on top of the water, you know this algae has been growing for a while. Typically, I would drain a pool like this, but the client wanted me to try to recover it without having to drain the pool. First things first, taking the cartridges out of the filter so that it can just circulate without clogging anything up. I'll be using some super flock, which is just a sequestering agent that'll grab all of the heavier particulates and drop them down into the floor so then I can pour to pump it out later. Next up, we'll be liquefying plenty of shock and then start the process of getting this chemical treatment going. I'll be liquefying 1.5 pounds of shock at a time and pouring it around the perimeter. I just use my pole to mix it up really well before I start pouring it around the perimeter. Thankfully, the weather was a lot cooler when I started this, so my chemicals are going to go a lot further, so I won't have to use nearly as much shock as I would if this were a summertime cleanup. I'm going to go ahead and start this pump up so that it'll help me move all these chemicals around in the water. I mean, look how thick this algae is. All of this is going to die today. We're just going to keep this process up, keep on liquefying shock, mixing it, and tossing it into the pool. And just look how this shock is already taking effect on this algae. And I know you can't really tell right now, but this is a tanning ledge over here in this corner. This is pretty crazy. If you can see, it's looking like a chemical dump here. It's literally what it is, but it's crazy how it's reacting with the shock already. And you're starting to see the bluish colors already coming out. Now we're really starting to get some crazy coloring. If you see, this water is just moving around. Pump is helping push the water. You can see how the shock is completely taking over this pool and reacting with the algae. And this is what we want. Typically, if you're dealing with a super green pool, you want to add enough shock until it starts to turn blue or turn white, or it starts to turn a different color. If you still have that deep green look in your water, chances are the algae is just going to overtake the shock. You're just going to agitate it, and it'll actually multiply even faster, and you won't be able to control the outbreak as much. And now I'm going to prepare the brush and get ready to do that process. We've already shocked it with about 9 to 10 pounds, and it's looking like we're about ready to start brushing and get this show on the road. And the thing about algae is you have to brush all of it. For this particular pool, since it's really thick, I'm using a metal brush, but they do make combination brushes and just straight nylon brushes. But for this pool, I definitely want to use a metal brush, and you have to brush every piece of algae that you can possibly see. You can't leave any behind. Now, chances are if you're dealing with a pool this terrible, you will miss some spots of algae, which is totally okay. You'll just make sure whenever the pool clears up, you can see the spot, you brush it. I'm hitting the floor as well, making sure to brush every possible surface. Unfortunately, it is pretty difficult to determine where I brushed already. I was just trying to get this thing moving on the surface. I need to get the brush to the walls, to the floor, and to every nook and cranny, even the tile line, to make sure that membrane is completely destroyed and the chemicals can do their job. And next, I'll be shaking up the super flock and reading the directions just to make sure. I haven't used it in a while. But it says to bring the pH down, so I will be adding a gallon of muriatic acid. Shock does increase the pH by a bit, so me adding a whole gallon should help the super flock do its job. Because you're only supposed to run the pool for about 2 hours before turning it off, and then allowing everything to sink to the bottom. And then I'll be adding the super flocculant right after the acid, and I'll just pour it around the perimeter just like with the acid or with the shock or any other pool chemical. You just want to go around the perimeter of the pool. And next up, I'll be adding some yellow blast, which is just a very strong algicide to help kill this algae. And with everything brushed, all the chemicals added that's necessary to complete this recovery clean, now it's time to wait. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this and finding it helpful, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, absolutely obliterate the subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so you won't miss a pool care tip. Also, if you're a pool owner and you're looking to take your maintenance game to the next level, check out our free pool care cheat sheet. It's packed with everything that you need to keep your pool blue, clear, and ready for this next season. It's absolutely free and it's linked in the description below. Let's get back to the video.
Tomorrow.
Welp. This is the pool after a day. It's looking nice, it's looking blue, but it's still super cloudy and you can still see that thick substance on the surface. So unfortunately, due to the cartridges that I took out of the filter, they were too small for this filter size. So this is actually and could be the reason why the pool turned green to begin with. It wasn't filtering properly. So the customer agreed to order the correct size filters and put them into the filter and let it circulate for a couple days. And it did take a little bit longer than I had hope for those filters to come in.
2,000 years later.
And there we have it, folks. As you can see, I missed quite a few spots in brushing, but also the pool did sit for about a week after that initial treatment, which was unfortunately a little bit too long than I would like. It's still not the end of the world. This pool is looking a lot better and we'll get it turned around in blue in no time. This is the portable vacuum that I created. It's going to allow us to pump all this nasty dirt and debris out of the system. It works by using this discharge hose to direct all of this disgusting water out and away from where we are and into the driveway, which leads to a drain on the street. And next, we have to attach old Nessie to the front of the suction side of the pump. It just attaches using a union on the front of the suction side of the pump. And once Nessie is installed, we have to prime the pump by using the lid of the pump to add water to the pump pot. Once the pump pot is filled, I need to prime the leaf trap, which will be catching all of the heavier debris before it gets to the pump pot. Then I'll attach the vacuum to the pole and attach the vacuum hose to the vacuum head and begin priming the vacuum hose and connect it to the leaf trap. And since this will be pumping water out, I want to make sure I'll be adding water, so I'll turn on the fill line. Plug in the pump and then make sure that the water is directed to the correct place, and we'll begin the vacuum process. I'm just going to let the music play and the vacuum roll. was starting to lose suction, so now we have to clean out the leaf canister. It is stuck with all this leaves, debris, and algae, which is blocking the flow. So I had to use a high pressure nozzle, spray all of it out. Once it's all cleaned up, we will sink the canister again, prime it up, and prime the vacuum hose again, and begin the vacuum process. Since most of the dirt is already expelled from the system, I'm going to be targeting the super stuck algae all over the flat surfaces and get that out as well. Due to the pool sitting for about a week or so, I did need to go ahead and shock it a little bit more to make sure that we kill all of this algae for the final circulation treatment. I'll be targeting the heavy algified areas with shock directly on the stain. After I've shocked it enough, I will be brushing it one more time. This time, I'll be getting every spot of algae because I can actually see what I'm doing. After that, I'll grab a few tabs and one more scoop of shock for good measure. I'll be pouring the shock directly down the skimmer so that it'll circulate through the system. The last part, which is very crucial and you do not want to miss this, is the skimmer throats can house more algae spores, so you want to make sure to get all of the grout lines in the corners and on the tile line inside of the skimmer just to prevent any potential future outbreaks. Brushing all the remaining algae spots that I can see, making sure all of the granular shock is brushed in. Now we wait a couple days for it to circulate.
3 days later.
When we started this pool, it was literally an algae apocalypse. It looked like an atomic bomb of algae exploded in this pool and infected everything. And through all the various challenges, like having the wrong size cartridges in the filter, as well as needing to wait a few days longer than I expected, we made sure to tackle it using all of the knowledge and skills that I've gained over the past 10 years in servicing and cleaning pools. And it went from this crazy algified dump into this. Wow, what a sight to behold. Now these darker spots that you see in the plaster are actual stains, it's not algae. So this pool did completely recover. There's not one bit of algae left in the pool. It's just amazing to see how simple it really is to turn a pool around. In most cases, you would have to drain a pool like that, but thankfully with the homeowner's help of him doing some filter cleans in between and me doing the labor on the chemical treatment, we were able to get this pool completely turned around. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I have a lot more planned. Make sure to subscribe.